reframe I heard recently, which I really like, is thinking of tech debt really as local optimization. It's not as if people aren't trying. It's not as if people are bad at their jobs or actively looking to build things that don't scale. It's just, it's hard, right? And you do the best of your ability with the tools you have available to you at the time and the set of facts that you have about patterns of the code base. I really like that idea of removing the stigma in the language used to describe it of it's local optimization. We're always building for the best what we can now.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Hatchpad Insight. I'm Lauren Alexander, one of the creators of Hatchpad, the career hub connecting technologists with emerging startups. If it's your first time here, don't forget to hit subscribe for more insights like this one. Today, we're here with Leo Hentschker, the CTO of Column. Column is the first collaborative public notice platform, helping journalists, governments, and legal services work together to inform their communities. Leo, thanks for hanging out with us at Hatchpad today. Just to kick it off, can you tell us a little bit about your background and the role that you play at Column?
My name is Leo Hentschker. I'm the CTO at Column, which in practicality means I'm writing some code, but also now sending a whole lot more emails as well. I've been here since really the founding of this company, helping take this out of a basement in Manhattan, Kansas, to the back of a local newspaper, to a co-working space in Manhattan, Kansas, to a co-working space in DC. And now as a distributed team after COVID, that's all over the world.
Fantastic. So would you be able to tell us a little bit about the product you all are building and just kind of what problems you're solving with that product?
Yeah. So at Column, we are building what we see as a platform for public information, starting with a really, really specific use case around public notice. So public notices are, by definition, a set of disclosures required for the most important events happening in your community. So the idea is, if you are about to do something that actively changes the lives of people around you, you should engage with them first, and it's your responsibility to do so. This could be a bank who's about to foreclose on a home, a town that's about to pass a budget, a treasurer that is maybe going to issue municipal debt, kind of a whole different set of options here of things that are really meaningful for a local community. Before those actions can take place, there is this legal requirement around disclosure of public notice. And the way that that's always happened is by printing it, rolling it up in a local newspaper, and distributing it to the local community. And I think what we're trying to do here at Column is that we actually think the set of stakeholders involved here is totally correct. The idea that before a town can hold a vote, before a school board can change the way that the children in an area learn, they need to send that information to a local journalistic institution, someone in a community responsible for telling stories about that community. We think that's kind of incredible and exactly how a system like this should be designed. We just think it could use better technology. So what we've done here is built out tools to facilitate the literal process of placing public notices. So you can think TurboTax for public notice. For this, there's a whole lot of glue sticks, staplers, and fax machines. And we try to automate as much of that as possible and fully digitize it. And then also making the actual notices available digitally as well. So the idea is you can still access it in your local newspaper, but also get it on free, accessible digital archives. Kind of charting where we are as a company, we launched publicly in October of last year, and since then have become the de facto system of record for this public notice process in about 11 states, hopefully a couple more to come soon. We have partnered with a lot of the larger holding companies in the space, as well as a lot of major metros, as well as local journalistic institutions, and are very much on this fun, frenetic phase of startup growth of we have a whole lot to do. There is more that we can ever do in a day than we get done, but it's a pretty exciting moment for us.
So what tech stack is your engineering team using in order to be able to make this product happen?
We are JavaScript everywhere. In particular, we're TypeScript everywhere. One of the key things that we really optimized for early on in the engineering process was making it easier to translate work and the lessons that we were learning on the front end to the work that we were doing on the back end. As a team that was candidly a little less experienced and had folks who were really working professionally for the first time, being able to translate that experience and the lessons learned on one half of the stack to the other was really helpful. And I think on the TypeScript side, trying to use tooling to remove categories of errors where we can, TypeScript has been fantastic. I think I am now entirely afraid of writing vanilla JavaScript code, especially as I think folks can imagine when you have a larger scale React application, your props are changing all the time, interfaces are changing all the time. And being in a position to have the compiler guarantee that at least at compile time, you're doing the right thing has been so helpful. And I'm really happy that we've built on top of TypeScript. The front end is React, Redux, and Redux Saga. Backend is Node.js, and it is an Express server. And our backend is deployed on top of GCP through Firebase, which is Google's hosted application architecture suite. If folks are familiar with the AWS ecosystem, Firebase is kind of a roll-up of Cognito, S3, DynamoDB, and Lambda, kind of all in one coherent package that is making it easier for folks to cross-apply knowledge. I would say it helps you jumpstart application development and kind of removes categories of work that you otherwise have to do if you're in a more formal REST API setup.
Very cool. Yeah, helpful background on that. One topic that we wanted to cover with you today is related to the idea of technical debt. It's something that a lot of startups face as they're just producing and optimizing, getting things out the door, especially the earlier stage, and they're trying to meet the demands of those customers. I would love to hear a little about your team's mentality around how you approach this idea of tech debt.
Yeah, there's a lot of blame and or shame that goes around this concept of tech debt, right? I think if you're working as an individual contributor and you're building things and you look at a file that you wrote 2 months ago, there's kind of this sense of, oh my gosh, I can't believe the way that I wrote code at this time. Or if you're an engineering leader, you're thinking, oh man, I can't believe that structurally we did things this way. How on earth do we think that? This will never scale. But the reframe I heard recently, which I really like, is thinking of tech debt really as local optimization. It's not as if people aren't trying. It's not as if people are bad at their jobs or actively looking to build things that don't scale. It's just, it's hard, right? And you do the best of your ability with the tools you have available to you at the time and the set of facts that you have about patterns of the code base. I really like that idea of removing the stigma in the language used to describe it of it's local optimization. We're always building for the best what we can now. And hopefully that gets better, right? Like I think in the classic sense of thinking about that local optimization problem, obviously we keep climbing to local peaks, but hopefully those local peaks keep getting higher. You're not always stuck doing the things the way that you did it about a year ago. But what I will say for sure is, especially at a fast growing early stage startup, looking back at code you wrote 6 months ago can be terrifying. It is very different. So at least for me, that's kind of the line I use to help myself sleep at night is I wasn't just making poor decisions 6 months ago. It was just local optimization.
I love your mentality. Some folks might view tech debt as a bad thing. But with that said, what do you do so that to the best of your ability, you're not kicking yourself later on 6 months down the road when you could have maybe avoided that?
One of the things that jumps to mind for me is frustration I feel like I frequently have with the DRY principle, or like this idea of don't repeat yourself. In my professional experience, this has been one of the most significant causes of unnecessary premature abstraction that immediately crumbles upon another use case being discovered. When I was learning in an academic context, there's this idea of, oh, if you're writing code twice, it should be abstracted. I don't agree because my general sense is you can't see a pattern from 2 examples. And I think it is much easier to maintain 2 instances of something than a immediately irrelevant and poorly abstracted hierarchy. So one principle that I try to say is don't repeat yourself 3 times. So if you see something 3 times, it's a pattern and it's probably worth abstracting then, but to really, really be hesitant of premature abstraction when there's only 2 instances of a pattern.